A very warm welcome to this artist online talk. I'm here at the Polish Film Institute, not the Film Institute, the Polish Institute in Vienna. We are hosting this talk about Andrzej Wajda and his legacy. And we have with us our host, of course, Rafał Sobczak, who will say some words for an introduction.
Okay. So, ladies and gentlemen, dear friends of the Polish Institute in Vienna, I would like to welcome you to our event, ArtistTalk, about the heritage and the legacy of a great personality, one of the most, to me, important person in the Polish and the world cinema, Andrzej Wajda, especially with our great guests. Due to a epidemic situation, our today meeting discussion will be online. But I would like to thank at the beginning, especially Wajda School and Studio and the Stadtkino in Künstler House in Vienna for the cooperation and the opportunity to make this event. Andrzej Wajda, as I mentioned, is a classic icon person. This month, he would be celebrating his 95th birthday. He was born 1926. So I'm very happy that we can organize this meeting, as I mentioned, with the great guests from Poland. So let me welcome Ms. Agnieszka Smoczyńska-Konopka, Mr. Wojciech Marczewski, and Wiktoria Pelzer from Stadtkino Künstler House. Wojciech Marczewski, an outstanding director and screenwriter, co-founder and vice president and the program director of Wajda Foundation School and Wajda Studio, member of the Polish and European Film Academy, winner of the Silver Bear at the Berlinale Film Festival. We all know and have been mentioned his great films, movies, Dreszcze, Shivers, Escape from the Liberty Cinema, Nightmares, Zmory, or Weiser. He was the dean of the British National Film and Theatre School in London. In our great school in Łódź, Polish National Film, Theatre and Television School. So very welcome, warmly welcome, Mr. Marczewski with us. With us is as well Agnieszka Smoczyńska-Konopka, director and screenwriter, one of the most important female director of the young generation in Poland. Her film, The Fugue, had premiere at the Cannes Film Festival, and her great, important and very strong debut, Córki dancingu, The Lure, were presented at Sundance Film Festival and were there awards a special jury award. As I know, Miss Smoczyńska graduated Wajda School as well. Who was Andrzej Wajda to me? I must say that he was not only the brilliant director and screenwriter, he was, we can say, humanist. He was educator, visionary of the movies in the 20th century. And as well, he was Japan and Japanese culture connoisseur. So it's very important, the scale of his interest. The special school in Poland, therefore we make this event together with Wajda School, is Wajda School, because in 2002 the school was founded by Andrzej Wajda with his friends Wojciech Marczewski, and we talked with Mr. Marczewski before we started our discussion now online. And I'm very impressed how this school in this special times, Corona times, is working. I appreciate this very much. The school made very interesting movies, very interesting films. They were presented in many national and international film festivals, from San Sebastian via Karlove Vary to Berlinale. So I'm very happy that our partner today is such a young institution, but such good working with the students from all over the world, from the West, from the East. And you know, the best mark of the school is, I think, that Wajda School and Studio is under auspices of European Film Academy. So you know, it's the best signature of the quality of the school. So let me say my great gratitude to our guests, and I think that at the moment the floor is yours, Wiktoria.
Thank you so much, and thank you so much for this introduction, and thanks also from my side for both guests for being with us tonight and taking the time to talk to us. Just to say, I'm the programmer of the Stadtkino Künstlerhaus, which is an art house cinema in Vienna, and we've been collaborating with the Polish Institute already before, so I'm happy that they approached us to do this talk. So before we go into the conversation, I would like to give a short overview and introduction about Wajda's work. For those who don't know it so well, or like I did, really, I needed a refresh of memory. So it was quite good to go over his work, which is really, really rich. So Andrzej Wajda was one of the most prominent Polish directors for film and theater in the 20th and 21st century. He died in 2016, and his death was mourned all around the world. In the year 2000, he received an Oscar for his life achievements, and as well in 2005, he got a special Golden Bear in Berlin for his work. As you mentioned already, he was born in 1926, so he had to endure the Second World War, where he lost his father, which is a topic that comes up in his films as well. After the war, he studied painting in Krakow, followed by film studies in Łódź at the well-known film school, and by the time, the only film school. I think we will talk about that later as well. His first film was Pokolenie, Generation. He did it in 1954, and it is the first of 3 war films taking place during and after the Second World War. Popiół I Diament, Ashes and Diamond from 58, also focused on the Second World War and its aftermath in Poland. And probably one of his best-known films, Kanał from 57, talks about the Warsaw Uprising, and it received a special jury award in Cannes. I think this film, or it is also said that this film is one of the best examples for Polish neorealism at the time, and is very close to Italian neorealism of Roberto Rossellini, for example, or Vittorio De Sica. With 4 more films, The Promised Land, The Maids of Wilko, Men of Iron, and Katyn, he was nominated for an Academy Award. It is quite striking how Wajda managed to make films that were quite unlikely to be made at the time, financed and released, even allowed to be screened outside of Poland at the time, such as Ashes and Diamonds, Men of Marble, Men of Iron, as they were quite critical about the socialist regime. I would like to read a quote from an interview where he talked about this topic. So now, when we have freedom, so to speak, everyone asks me, why could you make films while others couldn't? Well, we only wanted to expand a little, the limits of freedom, the limits of censorship, so that films such as Popiół I Diament could be made. We never hoped to live to see the fall of the Soviet Union, to see Poland as a free country. We thought that all we could do was to expand this limit so that the party wouldn't rule by itself, but would have to admit the voice of the society it was ruling. After making Men of Iron in 1981, he went abroad because of the political situation of martial law that was introduced in Poland, and he returned in 85 and continued making films in Poland. His last film he made in 2016 called After Image, about the avant-garde painter Władysław Strzemiński. I would recommend, if you want to dive deeper in the life of this extraordinary filmmaker, to watch the film Wajda by Wajda. That was shortly before his death in 2016. As Rafał Sobczak already mentioned, besides being a filmmaker, Wajda was also a painter and theater director. In '89, he was the director of the well-known Warsaw Theater Teatr Powszechny, and he directed more than 30 plays on different theater stages. I would like to wrap up this part about his artistic work by stating, if there's one thought or intention that connects his films, it would be exploring the relationship between a personal spirit and power, how the individual acts in relation to an overpowering state and totalitarian regime. But here we are today also talking about another achievement of Wajda's, the building of the Wajda School. So as it was already mentioned, it was founded in 2002 together with you, Wojciech Marczewski, and also the documentary and feature film studios in Warsaw. First, it was called Mistrzowska Szkoła Reżyserii Filmowej Andrzeja Wajdy, Andrzej Wajda Master School of Film Directing, and then the name changed to Wajda School in 2011. I'm curious if you can tell us more about this change of the name, what it also implies. The aim of the school was to offer unique training courses for film professionals and combine this education with film production. As we already heard, the school emphasizes international cooperation and co-production and offers professional artistic supervision by leading Polish and European filmmakers. Tutors include names like Ildiko Anieli, Leszek Dawid, Paweł Pawlikowski, Volker Schlöndorff, Alexander Sokurow, Agnieszka Holland, or Krzysztof Zanussi. Films from the Wajda School, as we already heard as well, are really recognized all around the world, and this school enjoys the honorary patronage of the European Film Academy. I have another quote because I think it can lead to our discussion later on. I would like to read a little excerpt of an interview with Andrzej Wajda, where he talks about the young generation of filmmakers. So the question is, Mr. Wajda, for several years you have been running the Master School of Film Directing in Warsaw. You have an opportunity to observe the youngest generation of filmmakers. What are they like? Wajda answers, they are very interesting people who are very at ease with the camera. We read books and we thought in literary terms. They are constantly watching the television or the computer screen. While the image is their medium, it is difficult for them to give their films a dramatic form. Our education led us to answer questions such as, who is the hero of my story? Where is he going? What is he about? Unfortunately, they sometimes forget about these questions. I'm really curious what you're going to say about that, Agnieszka. And another question was, what kind of advice do you give them when you award the diplomas each year? It's always the same advice. If you are working in Poland, make Polish films they won't make for you in Hollywood. Speak to your public and tell them what is important, but speak in a language of film that they understand. I would like to leave these quotes for now, but we can return to them later because I think we can talk about them, and it says a lot about his thinking of new generations and also how he thinks about filmmaking. So we had already quite a good introduction of our two guests. Just briefly, Wojciech Marczewski, thanks a lot again for being with us. You're a director and screenwriter and co-founded the school. I will just check if there's something that I want to add. I think Rafał Sobczak already mentioned quite a lot. We will probably talk about how it came to building the school, especially. And also about Agnieszka Smoczyńska. Before you studied at the Wajda School, you studied at the Krzysztof Kieślowski Film School, as far as I could research. It would be interesting to hear from you what's the difference to the Wajda School. As well, you graduated at the Wajda School at the documentary course first, for the Doc Pro, the fiction course Studio Prób, the development lab, and the international program for directors, the Ekran Plus. Yeah, before making your 2 feature films, you made 2 short films that were also quite well received around the world on festivals. And I just want to mention that both of the films are available on the Wajda School YouTube channel. So if anybody wants to see them, you can do that after our talk on this channel. And I also read that you are preparing a film with music by David Bowie. Maybe you can say something about that as well. And of course, as well, what you said in an interview concerning the film school is, in one interview you said, I was really keen on meeting my masters, Edward Żebrowski, Wojciech Marczewski, Marcel Łoziński, and more. So you managed that with studying at the film school. After this long introduction, I would like to ask you both first about your personal connection to Andrzej Wajda and his work. Maybe you can say in a few words for a starter what his work meant for both of you and still maybe means for you, and how also it affects your work. Mr. Marczewski, would you like to start?
Yes, good evening to everybody, first of all. And I'm very grateful to the Polish Institute in Vienna for organizing this event dedicated to our master guru, Andrzej Wajda. He was, and in a way still is, the most interesting, the most talented film director in Poland. First of all, at the beginning, when I was a student, of course, I watched his films, and I think that Diamond and Ashes and Diamond, it was discovery. It's amazing film, and it was film which we, as a students, even I was a couple of years afterwards when the film was released in Poland, I was at the film school, but we still talk about this film, about how it was made, about Cybulski, who was the main hero, and also about photography. It was amazing cinematographer, Jerzy Wójcik, who made this film. So I watched his film, but I never saw him. He was very distant. He was in Warsaw. I was in Łódź, But after years, my first meeting was really meeting. It was in very late. It was 81 when members of the Polish Filmmakers Association decided to and asked Andrzej to be a chairman of the Polish Filmmakers Association. It was solidarity period. Before, of course, we would love to ask him, but it was impossible because of the political reason. Andrzej was always, and especially from, I think, early 60s, was very involved in political life. So it was a meeting of the members of the Polish Filmmakers Association, and we choose him for being a chairman. And he asked me to be his vice chairman, So from that moment, we start to talk about not only about the film, but also about political issues. But I must say that I was not very close to Andrzej. Andrzej was a leader of the unit called X. I was in another unit. It was Andrzej Wajda unit, this X. There was Agnieszka Holland, for example. I was in another one which calls TOR, which means trucks. And it was Kieślowski, Żebrowski, Zanussi, and the leader was Stanisław Różewicz. So it was a kind of competition between these two groups. So I was very surprised when in 2002, I met him in the theater, in the foyer, and Andrzej said, listen, I just finished my long feature film, Weiser, and before I was abroad teaching in Denmark and the United Kingdom and in England. And he said, what do you think? We should make a film school. So what, we have two big film schools in Poland. Isn't enough? It was in Łódź, the public school, and another big public school in Katowice, which, for example, Agnieszka was graduate there. And he said, but we will make it a private school. Whoa, in Poland, private school, there was none. But so, but we start to think, why, and for whom? And we agree that the Polish sort of system of education, both of us, we didn't like it. We thought it's very old-fashioned, and it was mainly organized in this way that it was a tutor. It was always on the top, and the students who was really on the bottom. So it was rather better listen me. You should listen to me. I will give you advice. You have to make as I said. Of course, it was not always like this, but the system was organized more or less in this way. And we thought that, first of all, students who finish film school in Katowice or in Łódź, when they leave the film school, they jump to, I call it, to the black hole. Suddenly they are alone. They have to, there's a professional cinematography, but they don't know. They don't know anybody. They don't know system. They don't know how to behave. And they don't know what kind of films they have to make. So we decided that for this kind of people, for the students who finished film school in Łódź or in Katowice, we should ask them to come with the projects. We never accept students if somebody came and said, I would like to be a film director. We don't want to teach how to be a film director. We would like to help them to make a film. So first of all, you have to have a project. You have to come and say, listen, that's my project. It's a treatment or script, first draft of script. And I would love to make such a film. And we read it, we talk with them, say, well, okay. So it was one group of students. Another one, it was students who had, they had no education about the filmmaking. So they were, for example, editors, film editors, or actors, or writers, journalists, or theater directors who would like to be. But if they were interesting, if they were involved in any other kind of creative activity, and if they have interesting project, we say, we accept them. And from the very beginning, we said it has to be meeting point between West and East. It has to be a school when teachers or teachers should behave more like a colleagues, older, more experienced, but colleagues, friends, to help them to make the film. And they've made, it has to be very practical. So they made a couple of scenes from the script, which they prepare. Because very often what we thought, very often you make on the script, on the paper, it looks that, for example, it's funny. Everybody is laughing when we read this. But when they make a scene, it's not laughing, it's not funny at all. So that's a time when we can start to say, why? What is it? Because of text, because of actors, because of the directing or camera? We have to find another way. So we are saying that we help them to prepare to make first professional film.
Thank you. I think I would like to jump to Agnieszka. Maybe you can also say what really actually Wajda's work meant for you, or is it still somehow influencing how you work? And how come also this, maybe also what we heard now from Wojciech Marczewski was really important for your filmmaking that you are doing now?
I have to admit that I have the same impression as Wojciech Marczewski said about Andrzej Wajda, because he wasn't close with us as a student, as a filmmakers. I remember the first time when I saw his work, when I was 16, I was in secondary school, and I watched Ashes and Diamonds, and I was also, it really, you know, of course, now I know that I didn't understand the film, I didn't understand the movie, but I watched it like 3 times. And I wanted to write, analyze, you know, to my school. And then I watched the Man of Marble. And I remember that he created a women director, somebody who I really wanted to be. And Wajda said later, I read that he was thinking about Agnieszka Osiecka, then Agnieszka Holland, but he created something, you know, somebody who wasn't present in a cinema, in a European cinema, I think, in general, in a whole cinema. So these 2 movies were very important for me. And also The Wedding, then The Promised Land. These movies were very important, but not Andrzej Wajda as a filmmaker, because he was a monument. Somebody who really I wanted to chat, it was to touch. It was Wojciech Marczewski and Edward Żebrowski. Krzysztof Kieślowski passed away. So these 2 guys were really for us. I mean, for my generation, for students from Łódź and Katowice, really wanted to talk with these 2 guys, like Wojciech Marczewski and Edward Żebrowski. And I remember before I became a student, film student, there was the Wajda Film School, and everybody wanted to be a student of Wajda Film School, because just to be with these mentors, to talk with them, and also what they did. And I think Wajda, as a director, he invited Wojciech Marczewski as one of the best director and also teacher, because you, Wojciech Marczewski, you created a dogma, and he really knew who, you know, because Andrzej Wajda for us as a young filmmakers, he wasn't. It's hard to say, but always I remember the way we talk about Andrzej Wajda, it was completely different that we would talk about Krzysztof Kieślowski or Wojciech Marczewski, because Andrzej Wajda was always, you know, shooting
not approachable, maybe?
Yes, something like this. Yes, not approachable, something like this. And I remember when I could talk the first time with Wojciech Marczewski, and we had the first class during the studio proof, and he said about Wajda, that Wajda really wanted to be with the students, and he really wanted to teach them. And to be honest, now I think it was true, because he read our scripts, he read our short stories, our ideas, and I remember always everybody was curious what he would say. Of course, what would say Wojciech Marczewski, Żebrowski, and other students, but Wajda was sometimes he had completely different ideas. And it was very, now when I'm shooting I just finished my 3rd movie, And he said something, one very important thing. I remember that always when you shoot a movie and when you shoot an adaptation from the book, always come back to the book. Always, when you are on the set, maybe if you don't know something, or if you want to discuss something, or if you are searching for something, always back to the book. And this is, for me, this is like, you know, one of the most important statements in my movie, which I'm shooting now. And also what he said, very important, what I remember, that when you shoot a short movie or when you shot a movie, what is the most important? Your failure, because the failure is the lesson. And that's, for me, it's like one of the biggest, you know, statements from him. And I have many like this. When I was student, it was 8 years ago. I think now I would sit with him all the time and would listening what he would, you know, has to say.
When I watched on the Wajda School YouTube channel, you have some lectures. I think also some
Yes.
by Wajda, but also from you, Mr. Marczewski. So I have the impression, like when I would see now from what you're saying about the school, that it tries really to have a very easy way in to meet some of your idols, I would say, and really learn from them. Mr. Marczewski, can you maybe talk about this? Is this also something, when you first started the school, there must have been kind of a phase where you had to really think about how this school is gonna look like. How do we want to do this? You had a lot of experience as well from other schools from Europe. How much of an idea from Wajda and also from your side merged here to create this school? How you did it, and then you also you made a change by changing the name, but also I assume that it changed something in the program.
At the beginning, Andrzej gave me a freedom. I was free. He said, make a plan how you think the school should looks like. And from based on my experience from Denmark, London, Switzerland, and so, I said that first of all, it has to be 1 year. No more, because if we want to work on and develop the script and check how it will work on the screen, 1 year must be enough. And we knew that those people who will come to us, they are not beginners, and they are not so very young. They are not teenagers. So they have a family, they have to work somewhere. Some of them they had children, and so and so. So we said, each month we have 1 week when we meet, and it's extremely full of very busy time. Intensive time, and then it's 3 weeks break. They have to work alone, and they come back with the new draft, making some changings. We call it, I said that it should be, we call it from paper to screen, how to make a visualization. Because too often we realize that too often characters are talking what they have, what kind of problem they have. But we have to find a way how to show it by images. But the most important thing for us, it was how to work with them, giving them advices, being quite tough if it's necessary, but at the same time, giving them feelings that they are free. So we said, we will give you many, maybe plenty advices, but choose which one you really accept. And if you accept, it's not mine, it's yours. You are an author, because you never can do this mistake that a director doesn't feel like an author of the film. Of course, there are more people working with him. There are cinematographer, editor, actors, and so and so. But director is a person who has to say camera, who has to say it was good or it was bad. You will have a lot of advisors, and you have to learn how to, among these ideas, among these remarks, pick the right one and say, from this moment, it's mine. I'm fully responsible. That's that's the reason why I said before that we try to behave like friends, giving them, because they should feel that they are allowed to say, no, I don't like it. And they knew that even they say, no, I disagree with you, with the tutor will follow them anyway and will try to help them. And that's, for example, that we as a group of tutors, we never, before the session, for example, we never talk about this project. So we had different opinion, which is a very bad idea for the beginners, because they have several, but for,
Everything's fine. We can hear you.
Yes.
But I can't see you.
Okay.
Yeah. Okay. So sorry. Maybe I will try to try once more to be with you. Okay. Just a second. Yes.
Maybe.
I mean, yes.
It's okay.
Yeah. That's okay. Andrzej he could speak synthetically, which is very often it was difficult or too difficult for students to catch what he really is saying. Sometimes it was an anecdote. And I could see that some of them are a bit confused, what he's talking about. But he had this overview on the film. Sometimes he said, I remember a couple of times it was like this, that we talk about the project, a student's project, and he said, listen, it's a wonderful idea. That's great. It will be great film. Exactly at the moment when you finish, it's a starting point for your film, And very often he was right, because it was sort of long introduction when he said, who is she, who is he, what the problem is, they discussed, and there was a problem. That was a peak. And he said, start from this moment.
Okay.
And later on, you have to find a way how to give all important information later on. He was, for example, for him, it was very important secret. What for him was very important, he said very often, surprised me. Show me something which I don't know. If you are showing me, yes, I know, okay, this kind of guys are terrible, you know. And so you think that I will sit in the cinema and watching your film if at the very beginning I know nearly everything. Show me something, show me the character. I remember once when somebody told him a story, film Brother Dardenne, when they sell a child, and I just said, impossible. He sell a child. It's great. I never will imagine. I never will invent something like this. You know.
That really speaks.
Another thing, one thing more. Sometimes he said, important is in the film that at a certain moment in the film there is a suddenly surprised, shocked viewer. Don't tell him everything what he expects. It should be something new, something fresh, unexpectedly something has happened. Yeah. Sorry.
Yeah, well, that speaks very high of him, that he or also about the concept of the school. So as you're saying, like you gave or you're giving your students a lot of freedom. I think it's not really the case at all the film schools, when often you have a very big name who's there as a professor. Often students are kind of drawn to make films that are very much like those films, like this very important professor. I've heard of from many different schools, rumors about this. So I think this freedom is very, very valuable. And what interests me a lot, but maybe you already answered it in a way, but maybe Agnieszka, you can also say something about that. As he was really very, like his thing was to make really, really political films, always a very big topics that about individuals that kind of struggle against the bigger system. I was asking myself if there was something that he could also let go and give the students the freedom to do whatever their thing is or their vision is, because he has such a strong handwriting in these topics. Maybe you can answer.
I will shortly. First of all, I must say from my experience, I must say that sometimes great masters, they are terrible teachers, you know. So you have to find which one who is great directors or screenwriters, but only some of them should teach. And I think that Andrzej learned a lot, I would say, from the beginning. At the beginning, he was even shocked when I remember the session when was him, me, and Edward Żebrowski, and Wajda said something about the project, and afterwards Edward said something completely different. And Andrzej came to me and whispering said, "So this way our school will go?" Yes. And then he think for a moment, okay, that's interesting. Yeah. And after that, he absolutely accepted, you know, yeah. Agnieszka,
Yeah,
please.
and also what is very important that in Wajda school there are not notes. You know, you don't get any note, and I think that gives you really freedom, because you don't think about I remember this from Katowice, from my previous school, and also the same was in Łódź, that what was the most important for students, they were the notes, not the movies. But what you get from the note, from what kind of the note did you get, you know, you can get.
Yeah.
And I think this is very bad, because it gives you limits, and it gives you only one viewer. The viewer is the teacher, the mentor, and the mentor is not only the best viewer for you. So I think it was very for me it was, as Wojciech Marczewski said, that's what they wanted to give us, the freedom, the sense of freedom. And
I
also,
feel,
yeah.
sorry.
And also
No,
what was important, I think the Wajda school is a kind of the, film unit. That's what Mr. Marczewski said, that like X, like camera, like Tor, this film units. So we can call it like National Film Company, when the head of this kind of the unit was the mentor. It was a writer or a big director. And what was very important in this kind of the, I can imagine, film unit, it was the collaboration. And it wasn't one voice, but it wasn't like the, you could hear many voices and you could have to choose the best, which, was the best for you. And I think it was, that's why what we could felt as a students, which when we graduated from film school in Łódź in Katowice, that we felt very alone because we didn't have teams. And what is the most important in a filmmaking, in work in a teamwork, because you as a director, even if you are a director, you have to collaborate with people. Without this, you are alone and you can disappear in after maybe one or the second movie. So that was, yeah.
What I think is very interesting, especially in your works, with having these two fiction films, and your first film, Smoczyńska-Konopka, The Lure, and then seeing sorry,
Fugue.
Fugue, sorry. These are so different films. So can I assume that this is also a freedom that you kind of learned in a way from that school, to have the freedom of working in different genres and being totally free to have a script that, and you will find the form it has to be in the end. Is that something the school helped you with as well?
Yes, I think now, yes, because I remember when I finished Katowice, I was also, as a human being, I just wanted to be, I was afraid of many things. And I think that's what I'm trying to do all the time, to pushing my boundaries. And that's what I learned from in Wajda school, that I remember when I sent the script to Mr. Żebrowski from Turkey Dancingu, The Lure, because I was very close with him all the time. And I remember when I sent him and he answered me just after, I don't know, maybe 2 hours, when he got the script, Agnieszka, I don't understand the script, but maybe I'm old. And in some way, it set me free, because he didn't say anything more. He said, no, you shouldn't do this or something like this. And then I thought, okay, this is the movie which I have to do, because this is my movie, not his movie. Because when we are working on my previous short movie, Aria Diva, I was consulting all the time, because I was searching for my language, and I was, exploring, and it was, to be honest, Aria Diva, it was my debut, right, my real debut, because I knew nothing when I was shooting Aria Diva. After Aria Diva, I started to done some television and TV series, soap operas, and in terms of the craft, film craft, I knew much more. But in terms of the shooting movie, I also didn't know too much. But I could, set myself free. And it was, I can say that it was because of the men who I met, the mentors who I met, and also the students in Wajda school. And what I can tell you, one important thing, that we come back to Wajda school. We come back with our cuts, our scripts, we consult all the time there, because that's what also Wojciech Marczewski said. I remember the beginning, you can come back always to us. And we can be, and it's for me, it's like a home all the time, and it's not only for me. I think there are many students like me.
Yeah, it's very, it's a real pleasure when this graduates are calling and saying, could you read this script, or watching the first cut of the film. And I think that the school, or at least our school, should work like this and will work like this. That's a place when anytime you can come having a coffee. Right now we have in one of the room, after Andrzej died, and his wife, Krystyna Zachwatowicz, he has to change and leave the house when they live in Warsaw, and she moves to Krakow, to the much smaller apartment. And she asked me, could you take some furnitures from sitting room, which Andrzej and she use it in Warsaw? And I said, yeah, okay. We have a space for this, and right now it's one room which is there are furnitures from his sitting room, there are his books, and also the color of the walls are exactly as it was. So it looks like exactly the room from Andrzej Wajda place. And she said, but remember, it cannot be museum. You have to use it. And it is like that everybody is coming, sitting on the sofa. And the funny thing is that at a certain moment, when we nearly, I think that we finish everything, and suddenly she called me from Krakow and say, listen, you have to come, because there was an ashtray. Always on the table was an ashtray, and this ashtray I have here. So
it's a perfect reconstruction.
I traveled to Krakow for an ashtray, and an ashtray is on the table. It's a very nice place. We love this, so it's like still he's alive there.
Yeah. I would like to ask you again, Agnieszka, you just said you finished your shooting just a few days ago. Are you able to tell us a little bit about the project you are on at the moment, or is it very secret and you can only give some glimpses?
No, Mr. Marczewski read the script already, as we mentioned. You know, this is silent. The working title is Silent Twins. It's a true story set in Wales about two black twins who grew up in the 70s. When they went to school, they stopped saying any word. They discovered their own language, and they became artists. And they started to experiment with the boys, they were criminals, and they were sent to Broadmoor for the hardest psychiatric hospital in UK for 12 years. And the whole movie is about very, very hard relationship, love-hate relationship between these two twin sisters. One of them one day decides they understand that one of them have to pass away in order to set free the other.
So, is there any fantastic, or it sounds a little bit that there could be some fantastic elements?
Yes, there are fantastic elements, because they are writers, as I mentioned, and what I liked very much in the script, that the writer Andrea Zeigel, she is American writer, she emerged in the heads of these two amazing girls, and it's Letitia Wright from Black Panther stars the main character, and Tamala Lawrence.
So I think the program Ekran Plus, which you also attended, is a program that is already aimed at an international collaboration. Is that right? Was Fugue kind of involved there in the program?
Yes, Fugue was kind of involved.
Yeah, right. Yeah.
That's
it. Yeah, that's international program from the very beginning, and as I said, we decided that our school, it will be sort of meeting point, West and East, and they are also as a very stable and solid partner. There's a Austrian Film Institute, so every year we have a group of people, I mean, director, writer, some actors who are coming to Warsaw, and they prepare the next feature films. Yeah. So Ekran is supported by media and by partners, and there are Polish, usually two Polish teams, one from Austria, Switzerland, Germany, Lithuania, Croatia, very often Hungary. Not now. Now, I must say, it's sort of, they don't know to collaborate with us. But Romania, Bulgaria, Latvia, so it's really West and East, and they made the scenes because it's our sort of, it's our way how we try to teach directors how to develop the script. Right, when they write the script, they have to choose with us, in a way, two scenes from the script, important scenes, and they have to make one day shoot, one day edit, and in one session we watch result of this. They have actors because they have to check a tone of the film. Each film, like in the music, there is a special tone. So they have to find by doing. It's not enough to talking in a beautiful way how wonderful we will make, you know. So you have to check it, how it works. Is it exactly what you want or not? You would like to change it. So it's the program has a, I must say, very good reputation in Europe. So we have always a lot of applicants, and very interesting, usually much more experienced people. Some of them, they've made 2-3 long feature films before. They have some prizes on festivals and so and so, you know. But it is important that in a quite short time, usually it's around 3-4 months, when they come for 10 days break, they have to prepare next 3 days shooting and once more shooting. They can check what they have really in the script, you know. So they develop the script, but they also try to check how visually this film will look like. So it's a, I must say, quite unique method. It's a method which I first time I made it with in Denmark with people who made Dogma. So, for example, Thomas Vinterberg, he was one of my students at that time. So we've made I always prefer to make a workshop than a lecture how to direct. And I've made it in Denmark in a great studio. It was excellent equipment and so, in studio decoration and blah, blah. And after the day, I said, no. They take care much more about the technicalities than about the content of the scene, about the actors. And then I came to rector of the film school and said, listen, forget about this wonderful studio. We take the simplest camera, videos camera, and we go to the location. And we start to work, and immediately they start to work with actors about the content. What is it the scene is about, you know? So it was no light, just a simple microphone and camera, and so it was beginning of the Dogma. That's what they afterwards. So also this kind of experience we bring to our school, that it's not important that the best equipment. It's if camera suddenly is shaking, all right. If it will be too much, you will repeat it, you know. But take to work with actors. Andrzej learn everybody, learn his students, and for him, he always said, "You have to love actors." Even
and he did. No, he also supported young actors, and
absolutely.
Like when he had, I think, Christina Janda, right, at her first role in his films.
Many actors, you know, and he had a group of actors, which very often he used in his films, because when he chose actors, it was not the most important how professionally they are good and experienced. He sort of took them also with the personality, his or her personality, you know. So he was great in working with this kind of actors. He didn't know how to work with kids at all, with the children. We've made at a school, our students from documentary department made a film, quite documentary film, when he was shooting Katyn, and it's called Andrzej Wajda, Let's shoot it. That's the title of the film. And there is one scene when Andrzej is talking to the child and you can see that he doesn't know how this poor child is looking at him, doesn't understand anything. And finally he said, okay, somebody has to do it. So somebody, but with...
Quite contrary to you, who would dare say you worked with a lot of kids. You had a different approach.
That's right, but it's a different approach to working, you know. That's we knew at the school, and Andrzej knew as well, there is no one way how to work with actors. There is, we can talk about some schools, it's fine to know, but everybody has to find his or her own way of working with actors, how to be close to them, how to shorten the distance, you know. And it's the most difficult and unpredictable part of the directing. How to really be close to them. You have to know when you have to, you can shout, and when you have to say, even camera, you are whispering and say just camera, because it depends what you want to achieve from them, you know. So it's like a conductor with the orchestra, how to start, how to give them energy, or how to make it piano. So film has a lot of, is quite close to the music for me. If you analyze a music composition, like you take some symphony, that's what I advise directors. Listen a couple of times, and then you will find that there is a structure. There is how they start, and then violins starts, then some other instruments start, then it goes to the peak, and there is a silence. What it means, silence for the film. In a film, we should conduct our films the same way. We have to, because it's not enough to inform our viewers. You have to seduce them. They have to, quite often I am asking, reading the script, but tell me when I will cry. when I will have a tear in my eye, when I will be emotionally catched, Agnieszka knows how to do it. She knows that I'm crying on her films.
Agnieszka, I would just like to add one more question to you, because I think we have to wrap up soon. But as we were talking about actors, I would really like to ask you, because both of your films have very, very special actors. Córki Dancingu with the two young women, and in Fugue it's very special because your main actress also is the scriptwriter, as if I'm rightly informed. Can you maybe talk about this? Really working with actors, it's such a big they give so much to a film and co-create the film so much.
As I mentioned before, I think the movie is a teamwork. So even now when we are shooting, because most of the actors were from UK, and they were so surprised that I want to share with them some takes, that they could come to the screen and they could watch what we just shot, and they were surprised, they were shocked that I want to show them this, and I sometimes okay, look, so look, this and this, and for them it was totally different kind of work, because it was like much more like a teamwork, much more like a collaboration. And I remember when Andrzej Wajda, because we are here because of him, when he said, when he was watching when we were shooting Aria Diva, so my short movie which we were developing in Wajda School, and when he saw the materials, the footage, he said, why are you showing me this passage all the time? She goes from this point to this point. Why don't you show me the important scenes? And I remember that I answered, because I haven't shot them yet. And he said, that's the mistake, because always you have to start the movie from the very important scenes in terms of the actors, because then you check if there is chemistry between the actors, and then what you can check, then you can change the actor. If the actor is not good, you can just hire him.
Yeah, and is it something that you did later on?
No, I haven't, but that's what he said. But the same Wojciech Marczewski and Żebrowski, that's what they learned, that what is the most important is the chemistry between among actors and between actors. And this is something, when you have the chemistry between two people, two human beings, the viewer watching the relationship, the viewer, following how the relationship developed. If there is no chemistry, there is no movie. And that's what I've learned from Andrzej Wajda and from the students. And I remember, if you ask me about the Fugue, because Fugue was also developed in Wajda School, and I remember that Andrzej Wajda took me to the room and he said, it's not a good idea that actress is writing your script. It's a very bad idea. He said, you never should do this. That's what and I was so depressed. I remember this. And the truth was, and I remember that, I was all the time fighting with this, what he said to me. And I remember that Gabrysia, the scriptwriter and the actress, she was writing the script for 10 years. Then after that, that's why I did the Lure, because I couldn't wait so long.
But
because
at some point,
Andrzej Wajda said something like this. I remember that you all actors should think that you love them and you should love them, but you should be in charge, not the actors. That's what he said. And I think this is very important, and it gives the director the sense of freedom, that you can do everything. You can't be the prisoner in your own movie. And I think this is very important. Also in terms of the collaboration with actors and the way you collaborate with them. And also what he said about actors, that what is the most important in the movie, the cast and the script. If there is a cast and the script, that you don't need director.
I have a signal from outside now.
Yeah.
Thank you so much. Of course, we are in this online room because of this rather strange pandemic situation. I'm very happy to hear from you, Agnieszka, that you still were able to shoot and are working on a new film. I'm really happy to hear about a lot of directors who actually really could use the time to work on new films. So we have more culture and more ideas from different people and from different parts of the world to experience, hopefully soon in the cinema. I assume that your film will probably be popping up in festivals next year, I guess, because it takes some time, I think, for working on it.
We will see if the cinemas will be open, if the theaters will be open, because nobody knows now.
No, unfortunately, let's all hope for the best.
Yeah.
And Wojciech Marczewski, you also said that you are still working with the students also a lot on Zoom, and it's working out quite well. So we are very happy that you are keeping up this work. And I really hope that we will be able to, maybe if not this year, but for the 100th birthday, and I think I'm going to pass the word to Rafał Sobczak at this point. Maybe we can really organize a screening of Wajda's films and maybe also your films, and invite you to Vienna to be here in real and without this online world.
So once again, thank you very much for this excellent meeting, excellent discussion, inspirational stories, new way in which we saw Andrzej Wajda and his creation and his visionary and director. Thank you very much, Wajda School. Thank you very much, Stadtkino, Ms. Agnieszka Smoczyńska, and we give you from Vienna, from the Polish Institute, much energy in these challenging times. We cross the fingers for your all projects as well in the school and the film projects, and I hope that we'll soon see not only virtual but face to face, probably in Vienna. So you are well invited to us. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much.
Thank you very much. It was a great pleasure.
Thank you.
Yeah, lucky.
Yeah.
Thanks.
Thank you.